Hello, welcome to the Matchcast, a brand new match fishing podcast with me, Jake Fowles, my co-host Rich Chapman, and today's star guest, Darren Cox.
Hello.
So we'll start with what we've all been up to this week. So Darren and I last Wednesday ran the Garblino Club Angler of the Year final at Barston Lakes. Another brilliant event this year.
Oh, it's fantastic, wasn't it? Always is.
Always is. So more people entered this year. So we had 380 people across the 3 qualifying rounds, and then the final at the brilliant Barston Lakes. Is there a better venue to host a final?
Well, I called it on something last week. I think I put something out on Facebook. I said, I honestly believe it's basically match fishing's Wembley. It's just a great place to have a final, great host. Fishing's so varied. You can go to Barston, you can fish however you want to fish and catch fish. So it suits a lot of anglers. It's a great place, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was on the day as well. It fished really, really well. As there always is on these sorts of events, there were a couple of areas that didn't fish quite as well. But in general, there were weights dotted around all over the place. So on the day, Paul Garrett won it, so he qualified from Gold Valley. He had a weight of £149.15 from peg 16.
Yeah, great result. He fished well into there.
Yeah, and he's basically done. He's fished a brilliant match, to be fair to him, hasn't he? He's pinged 8mm pellets on like a sort of 27-30 metre line sort of thing, which is really the line at Barston.
I think he deserves that because I think he qualified 2 or 3 times and he fished most of the qualifiers.
He fished 2 of the 3 and he qualified on both of those times that he fished the qualifiers.
So he deserved to get through and he absolutely deserved to win it. But there's some great anglers in that final. There's some great anglers didn't get through as well. But it's good to see there's such a fantastic standard these days in all walks of match fishing, isn't there?
And I think that's it. I think we do get a couple of people, they come to us and they say, like, is he a club angler? The criteria for that particular event is that you fish with a club, that you're not sponsored and that you're fishing with a club. So there's a few which are there and they're very good anglers and there's no denying that, and they do hold their own if they have a bit of a dabble at open matches, but at the end of the day they're club anglers that want to fish that event because of the prestige of it.
They are, and what's interesting with some of the past winners, we've actually seen go on and become very good open match anglers and get involved with fish show and qualify for fish show and things like that. So it's a great stepping stone to learn your trade as a match angler, I would say. It's brilliant.
So what's the actual format for the qualifiers themselves then? Is that?
It's all, so it depends. So generally we say 50 qualifiers for the final.
Yep.
And it's all based on the number of people who qualify is based on how many are fishing each qualifier.
Yep.
So it's a bit of guesswork in terms of, for example, the first one this year at Tunnel Barn Farm, the first qualifier, which was the Midlands one, 147 anglers fished that one.
Wow. Yeah.
So we put 22 anglers through from there.
Is that from sections? Are you doing it, or is it
yes.
weighted?
So how we try and make it as fair as possible. So with that one at Tunnel Barn, there's so many lakes that we try and say for example, High Pool, where we know that the most anglers are on High Pool.
Yep.
We'll put more anglers through on that lake. And then say, for example, Canal, which is less anglers, we'll put less anglers through. So it's all proportionate to how many people are on each lake, how many go through. At Gold Valley, it was a little bit different because of the way that the lakes are. To make that as fair as possible, we basically made little zones within each lake.
Yep.
So Gold Lake, there was sort of, I think, about 12 people on there. We did 2 zones. And then Middle and Syndicate Lake, where there were more anglers, we split the lakes up into zones and split them up into 3. So there was like a...
We just don't want one lake to dominate. And I think it's important. This is like a qualifier, and if it's split over various amount of lakes, then everybody should have the chance, whichever lake they're on, to actually qualify for the final. I think that's important.
as long as you're getting it as fair as you can, and it's not a case that, I've drawn my peg, I've got no chance, it's pointless me fishing. I think doing it that way probably eliminates as much as that as possible sort of thing, doesn't it? So.
Yeah, definitely. And with this particular event, I think in the past it has been where the top 15 or the top 20 or the top 10 all qualify. Yeah. Like Darren's just said there, that could all be from one lake. With this event, we don't want that to be the case. So there's always a number of anglers from each lake that's going to qualify, and I think that just makes it as fair as physically possible.
Yeah.
It's not one winner. There's generally, at least 10 anglers going through, but anywhere from 10 to this year 22, just depending how many people are on each qualifier.
But these guys take it seriously, you know. They go and practice for all the qualifiers. There's a lot of people practicing for the final. There's actually a lot of good prizes and a lot of good money to be won in these, even the qualifying rounds. It's huge amounts of money to be won.
Paul Garrett, he walked away with £600 plus a Garblino UK2 pole,
nice.
the brand new
£3
one.
grand's worth of pole.
£3 worth of pole.
Not a bad day's work.
No, exactly. Steve Martin came second, so he has been the runner-up. Is it 2 years on the bounce?
2 years.
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah,
twice
in 3 years. So Steve Martin, he was on peg 32 and had £137 8 ounce.
A late run that was, wasn't it? He caught a load of fish late, apparently.
Well, before the match, as the match started, there were so many fish in. Like, he was on the peg 32, just to the left-hand side of the island. 32, and then I think it was about peg 36 was next. So many fish in between there where they'd sort of backed off, or they were just rolling in that peg. I think they were like sort of pairing up to spawn, and just they were there, weren't they? But
I think what's interesting about Barston, that I'm not sure we've ever had a winner from 124.
no,
You know, the famous 124, and you know, peg 16's won it. I think 70's won it. 28 has won it. Even peg 101, I think, won it with a load of perch one year. So it's really quite varied, and that's what's good about the venue.
But even not just on that, on all the matches on there this year, everyone goes on about it, but there's as many that haven't. It's not framed in that.
Well, I'm one of them.
Recently.
Rich, I actually drew 124. It took me 16 years to draw it. There were a million carp in front of me. I think it was on a Mava match this, and everyone's saying, "Oh, well drawn, well done, congratulations, Darren." This was before the match even started. And the wind changed and the fish just moved out.
It's horrible, isn't it?
That's the beauty of match fishing, isn't
But
it?
those pegs, it's almost a no-win situation, isn't
Exactly.
it? If you went and smashed it, everyone's like, oh, best peg in the
It
country.
wasn't because you fished a nice match, it was just because that's the best peg.
You don't, and then it's like you just sat there, head in your hands, and just like, what have I done wrong? Ready to kind of give up match fishing.
Yeah.
I think I did it on 16 Twin Oaks when I was like, literally caught nothing for the first hour. I was like,
that's unlucky.
But it's just pressure on straight away, isn't it? It's horrible.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, I'd still rather draw those pegs from you.
It'd be nice to draw them occasionally.
Definitely.
Not like Andy May, he draws them every single week, doesn't he?
There's a few that you can think that draw pegs like that every week.
Yeah, and then speaking of peg 124, Lolkinere came third off it this year. Bit of banging in the background, let's ignore that. So we had £129 1 ounce. He fished a lovely match, to be fair to him, just chucking to the point of the island, or just out from there, and caught plenty of fish. So another brilliant event. It'll be going ahead next year, so we'll obviously keep you posted with the qualifier dates for that, so you can get booked on and have a look at that. My next outing, so I had a busy week last week shooting lots of features, plus that event. I was out 4 of the 5 days. Saturday I went and fished the New Junction Canal, filling in for Tom Scoley with his Starlets team. I've not fished the venue in probably 5 or 6 years actually. It was a Division 1 national fishing for Warrington that I was last on there, and that day I caught a lot of roach fishing hemp. This time, very different. I've caught a few bream on the feeder, well 2 bream and a skimmer on a feeder, 3 or 4 pound, a little roach on the pole, and ended up 1 ounce off picking my section money up, frustratingly. But we did well in my section, good team points. Tom won his section, AD Higginbottom won his section, but we've ended up with 22 points in total. We've had 1 blowout and ended up second on the day as a team. So it was the team that won it on the day was Sheep's Flock, and Sean Wright was Sheep's Flock, and Sean Wright was the individual winner, and he had £17 2 ounce. Tom Scoley was second with £15 13.
Nice.
But hopefully, so the way that they're doing the Division 1 National this year, you've got half the anglers on the New Junction Canal, half the anglers on the Aaron Calder. I've put my name forward to be fishing the New Junction. I love the venue, to be fair. I think it's just a nice venue.
It's a great match venue, isn't it? Yeah. It's great for for a team match. It's because it's a big long straight canal. Yeah, there's good areas, but the best teams always do well on the Junkie, the Staney, and and the Aaron Calder.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. It's it should be a good national. So Rich, what have you been doing?
It's been an interesting one this weekend. Because on Saturday, when it was about 30 degrees everywhere. We went up to the Glebe for, I think it was a Golden Reel, was it?
Golden Reel, yeah.
So 60, 70 odd people there. I've drawn, what was it? It was an end peg on Uglies.
On the boards?
Yeah.
No.
Which
you didn't tell me that.
I did, I'll tell you the peg. Going on about people drawing flyers all the time, which it's a good peg on the lake, but I don't think you generally pick Uglies to win the match overall. But we've gone, who have I had? I've had Chris Kitchen next to us, and then Andy Power a couple of pegs up, which when it's a mugging day
Mr.
for
Mugger.
carp, mugging for carp on a waggler is not the first person you want to see in your section. But yeah, it's just been, as you'd expect, everything's been up on the surface. It's been red hot, and it's never been solid, but it's just, they're massive fish in there. They're averaging about, or the older fish in there, I should say, are averaging
the big
10
stocky
plus.
fish out there. They're like, not very long, but they're really deep, chunky fish.
It got its name because he did select some of the uglier sort of funny shapes, funny sizes, scar on the side type fish and put them all in there.
Yeah, that's right.
They were the big ugly fish, and that's why it's got its name.
As opposed to Pretties, which is next door.
Yeah, and that's got all your nice ornamental ones.
So yeah, it was. There was fish about on the surface. I've not got it right from on the waggler. I've been using the little Guru wagglers, the 2 SSG ones, but they were just miles too heavy for the only fish I've caught on the waggler. Where you've kind of overcast it and drawn it back. Anything landed anywhere near him, it was just going in too heavy. And when you're seeing the sort of stuff Power's using for that, he's got it a lot more refined and everything. And for the first hour of the match, he was catching nice and steady. And I think after probably 4 hours, I think it was, I had just over £100 on the clicker. So I was like, you could kind of tell it was drifting away a bit. And I don't think it was going to qualify. You were kind of 220 plus, you were thinking, for actually qualifying. But then I've kind of started going downhill a bit.
You felt very ill.
Yeah, felt a bit sick, and obviously I'd had about 18 layers of sun cream on. But yeah, I just started, it was almost as if you were like, been out drinking, you're like feeling sick, you couldn't see straight, couldn't focus on anything.
Almost as if you're a ginger out in 30 degree heat. Almost.
Pretty much.
Almost, yeah.
So yeah, it's got to the point of like had to like put everything down, go and find a bit of shade and just try and drink a bit of water, chill out for a bit. But yeah, I've kind of not recovered from that and like not been able to fish the rest of the match really.
Anything to get out of the weighing in duties, because you were on the scales as well.
So I've kind of, in the last 5 minutes, I've kind of had a half-hearted attempt, and I think I did one popped up like right on a top kit, and I've kind of caught him and then had to play it in and took about 10 minutes trying to land the thing, like not being able to see where I'm netting or anything. So, but yeah, I think I finished with £113, I think it was. I think Andy's won the section with 130, but I've kind of not fished for an hour, so it probably would have been close. But who won it? It was
Steve Barraclough.
Steve Barraclough won it.
And he weighed £234.
Yeah.
I believe he was on Lake 9.
Yeah, the new one.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, I think
129 by any chance?
Yes, it was peg 129, which I was about to say it was the peg on there. But
for some reason, it's. I think the pipe goes in from Lake 8, so there's always a trickle of water going in there, which is often helps, doesn't it? Just especially on a hot day, just gathers a few fish.
I think that's it. It was again, it's the same sort of thing as Boston, where you go to the Glebe, everyone's like peg one, and I think the last few times I've been, it's not been the one that's won it in the end.
Sam Colley was on that one too.
Yeah, I think he
had 217.
Yeah, I know he was third. I wasn't quite sure where he'd drawn.
Yeah, I think he was on that peg.
That's a very Sam Collett peg, isn't it?
Yeah, he was claiming to have not a lot apparently. So Sam, you must work harder on your weights.
I think there's always loads of fish, but they're always a bit smaller down that end as well, aren't they?
Yeah, we had the David Hall match that year down there, and I think you were on about peg. Were you on about
10,
7,
11?
Something like that, maybe?
Yeah.
And I remember I was on that peg thinking, like, everyone had told me all the fish are between £5 and £6, and I caught loaded like 2 or 3 pounders. It was a brilliant day that year. The first year, in fact, that I'd been there. I think it was my second day working for DHP.
Yeah, I remember it well.
Yeah. £258, but a lot of fish for that.
Yeah.
That's a good peg when virtually every peg's in on pool one.
Yeah.
Because what happens is when there's maybe only 20 anglers or 15 anglers on pool one, there's a lot of space in the wide areas around the middle, and the fish always go to the gaps. But when there's every peg in, the fish tend to go up the ends, so that 1 and 30, is it 30? 30, yeah, the end peg. They tend to dominate, but when there's less anglers on it, the fish do spread out.
Yeah, and then middle wider pegs are always good, and they always say that the best feeder peg in the country. It always seems to produce, whether you're chucking a feeder or you're on the pole, you've just got a bit more room, haven't you?
That's right.
Yeah. But I think there was a bit of space on that. I think there was 67 anglers, I think I want to say.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a sellout, but obviously everyone's either had, if they weren't on an end peg, they've had a peg either side. I think that's how he's done it. So everyone's had a bit of space. And
that's great for the glebe, isn't it? Good
you've
pegging.
Had a day's fishing where, like, if you're catching £120 and coming nowhere, it's a sign of a good fisher, I guess.
In 32, 33 degrees.
Yeah, well, so it was always going to be tough, but anyone who's had a few in front of them, it's just been
it's good.
Mug as many as you can.
Yeah, and then despite almost dying on the Saturday, you decided to go again on the Sunday. Another local match?
Yeah, I was back to Kirby. It was on that new pool again where I was last week, and that was kind of I wasn't sure if I was going, so again, being nice and local, I was just going to call it in the morning. I think it was a 10 o'clock draw, so a bit of a line and everything.
Very nice.
And it's fished weird. In my head, I was kind of thinking, with it cooling off, I think it was about 20, 21 degrees that day. I thought, red hot, they might be having a bit of a feed, but it's kind of gone the other way and everything's just shut up shop on there. Because it's one of those lakes, apparently, if there's more than 16, 17 people on there, it tends to go a bit weird, and I think that's what it did. I think there was 22 people fishing that day. And it's just nothing's fed on anything. So I've had I think swap between method on the far bank, because it was about 18 metres and 16 metre pole limit, and then had a few at 16 metres. It's coming up into the shallow water. You still got about 3 foot, but it was enough up onto the slope that you were getting odd bites. But I'd have definitely caught more if you could have fished it properly, but that wind was coming across us, and that's caused us issues through the day. So I've kind of been, when I've had the chance, fishing that and then dropping on the method in between. And I think I weighed 57, which was second overall, but it was Ricky Richards who won it, and he's fished for Ide shallow on Castor all day, and he's had £76 of them.
Nice days fishing.
Yeah, proper nice days fishing, and kind of targeting silvers and actually winning the match off it. So kind of,
I think it was a weird day yesterday, because I'll tell you where I've been in a bit, but it was real high pressure. You could tell that yesterday, and the big fish didn't seem to feed anywhere near as well as they normally do.
Yeah, it was a strange one, because they weren't feeding, but they weren't all on top. It wasn't. No. I've seen 3 or 4 muggers all day.
Strange.
And it was just one of them strange old days where it was the same for everyone. Some people have had like 2 carp all day, so it shows you how tough it's been. Where the week before it was like 130s, 140s, and everyone kind of caught 80 odd pounds sort of thing. So it's just fishing as it goes, isn't it? Really.
Nice. So moving on to Fishermania qualifiers, Lindome Lakes. So the top 3 in this match. So Christian Jones has won it, brilliant young angler. Ryan Lidgard, just 2 ounces behind him. So Christian had £191 5 ounce on Benny's, and Ryan was on Loco and I had £191 3 ounce. And then third place was Ryan McKinley. So 3 really good young anglers, all in the top 3 there. Then following that, so bearing in mind Ryan McKinley came third at Lindome. I think that was on last Wednesday, I believe. Maver matched this at Partridge Lakes. Ryan McKinley's gone on and won it. So after coming third and being close on the Wednesday, at the weekend, Maver matched this, Partridge Lakes, he's won it with £166.
Well, good on him, mate.
6 ounce.
I didn't realise it was the same lad, to be fair.
Yeah, so he's come third and then won it at the weekend. To be fair to him, he's a brilliant young angler. He's, I think he's 21 21, something like that, around that sort of age.
Yeah, there's a few now at that age, isn't there?
He's got a young family. He's a brilliant angler.
Yeah.
He's from up north, and he just does well everywhere he goes, to be fair to him. He actually goes and fishes Boddington a lot as well, or he has been doing recently, and he goes fishes for carp on those sorts of venues and catches and does really well. But then when it comes to F1 fishing, he's brilliant at that as well.
Excellent.
So fair play to him.
Good on him.
Yeah. And then the dynamite bait in the mix.
Yeah.
So the first one of these events.
Yeah, it's a bit of a, obviously for anyone who's not read about it or seen it, it's kind of a slightly different format to obviously qualifiers for a big money match, I suppose, where it's a one-off entry of £125.
Yeah.
So it's probably one of the most expensive matches you're ever going to be on. But there was 100 anglers and it was a sellout, which probably surprised me a bit. With the ticket price being so high, it wouldn't have surprised you if there was 50 people fishing it, sort of thing.
No, it was good, wasn't it?
But fair play, they've managed to sell it out. It's been on Hayfield, and I think, was it across 2 lakes? I think it would have been.
I think it'll have been all of them. I think Danny's Island, Adams, and Little Adams, I'd presume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, who was it?
It was Paul Wright.
Yeah.
So he's a regular up there. Very good angler. Does well in that sort of area. Lindome.
Yeah,
Hayfield,
he's a really good angler. He's a good all-round angler, to be honest.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah, he does well. So he's drawn peg 70. He's caught a mugging and on the waggler. 114 3/4 kilos. It was in kilos.
Yeah. So what's that? 250 odd, is
Something
it?
like that.
Yeah.
Good weight, isn't it?
It's a big old,
yeah.
But it's, again, big old fish, and it was Saturday when it was red hot, so
Yeah.
it was going to be one of those sort of days. And obviously, if you're fishing those sort of venues regularly, that's what they're good at, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
But I think it was Johnny Arthur was second, wasn't he? And it was
Craig Edmonds third.
Trigg.
Yeah,
Trigg was third.
Trigg.
To John Arthur after he won the round of the UK champs at Hayfield last week, so he's gone there again, come second in that match. Then Craig Edmonds on fire everywhere he goes as well.
Yeah.
Another brilliant angler.
But he's the same, obviously. He's not from round there, but fishing venues like Viaduct and everything, it's the same sort of fishing.
Big fish, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about understanding big fish, shallow fishing, getting them in quickly.
I think anyone who fishes places like that and are doing a lot of qualifiers have got a big advantage when it comes, obviously with Hayfield and Larford being for the finals. It's all that style of fishing. So suddenly it's gone from fisho being small fish F1 fishing. It's totally changed the game a bit, hasn't it? So it's mixed up a bit, and anyone fishing Hayfield's got a hell of a lot of money to be fishing for over the course of a year at the moment.
Yeah, so that was £12,000 that he picked up.
10,000.
£10,000, and then the rest of it I think was bait prizes.
Oh yeah, they got Dynamite had sponsored it with everyone got a load of bait vouchers and everything as well on top of the prizes. But I think they've got another one later in the year at Westwood, I think it is.
Right.
So I think if you fish the first one, they're giving you kind of first refusals on tickets.
Yeah.
But then it's just open to everyone with the same format. So 125 quid, chuck your money in, and you've got a chance of winning 10 grand.
Well, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Because how much money do people spend on tickets and fuel chasing to get
crazy.
to a final?
Yeah.
So to actually book your golden ticket straight to the final by paying a bit more money, that's I know you're fishing against 100 anglers or 60 anglers, and the probability of you winning it is probably a bit less if you actually get into the final. But you've got to look at the probability of actually getting into the final in the first place.
Yeah,
where you're fishing against those sorts of numbers anyway. I think we're going to discuss. I think that's going to be a bit of like the hot topic side of it as well.
We'll have a proper chat about that.
I just apologise for my phone there. It's on silent. It's on aeroplane mode, and I'm still getting messages through.
Oh, are you on the?
Yeah.
Fair enough. Right. So then, moving on to the junior and intermediate national, which took place at Makins.
Yep.
So it's always good to give a few of the youngsters a bit of exposure as well. It was the national this weekend. I know I always used to love fishing these events. Obviously, as a youngster, you're not travelling around the country the same. So when you're going with your team, you're meeting all these different anglers that you see probably a couple of times a year. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
So with that, we had I believe it was two separate events. They changed it a little bit now. It's called junior and youth. So youth are older and junior are the younger age group.
Yeah.
It was always intermediate, junior, minnows when I used to do it. But
is there cadets or something?
Yeah, that was always the youngest age group, wasn't there?
In the World Championships, there isn't like definitely.
So the winners of the youth was Tricast Bait Tech. So when you read some of these names, you can understand why. So Zach Warby, Will McRainer, Christian Jones, Rob Swan, Billy Marlowe, James Allen.
Yeah.
Obviously, Rob Swan, Christian Jones, Will McRainer in particular. You see their names all the time.
Christian's just qualified for Fisho, was it last week?
The funny thing about this is that he would have qualified for the Junior Fishermania on the back of his result in this match. But because he'd already qualified for the main event, that then got passed down.
Right.
Can he have another draw in the junior one? If he doesn't draw well in the main final, fish that one instead.
I believe Ethan Etherington, is it? I think he took his place in the Junior Fishermania, which takes place at the same time as the main event.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
And then in the junior side of things, Census A4 won that. Harry Keys, Austin Jennings, Owen Newman, Billy Pittman, Miles Andrews and Katie Crooks.
Yeah.
I believe Katie was captain of that team who's won that.
She's obviously with Spotted Fin and reading bits about that. They were down doing a load of practicing and stuff, and I'm sure it's the first year they've put a team in and everything. Obviously drawn well on the day, fished well and kind of done the job at the end of it. So I think Katie was 4th overall. I'm pretty sure, I can't remember who else it was in the team that I think one of them framed overall as well. So, they've finished on 40 points, I think it was, off the top of my head, which has been enough to win it. So.
Brilliant. Yeah, so well done to all the juniors. And
I think it's
good to see, innit?
Yeah, and to the parents as well for getting everyone to and from it as well.
That's the thing there. I think when you're that age, you sort of take for granted that your parents are driving you around, taking you to all these matches. But if they don't, generally it's their willingness at that stage that then keeps you interested and gets you to carry on going.
It's the only way, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's the only way. These days, you got to travel.
Yeah, and it's got to be. As a parent, it's got to be a bit of a nightmare to be out in all weathers, sitting there for 5 hours waiting for him to fish, and all the money, all the expense and everything. So,
but as a parent, you do it. I mean, my son swims, and I often sit inside a chlorine-infested swimming pool arena, which is
3 o'clock in the morning.
Which is arguably just as bad, being red hot and unbearable in terms of heat. So.
But that's the thing, that they're the ones that go on and do great things at the end of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Plus, to be fair, I don't think the parents mind too much because you see half of them putting their own Facebook statuses on how made up they are when the kids end up doing really well.
Dead right.
Which is brilliant. I'm not a parent myself, but I'm guessing it's a bit of a proud moment when your kids are doing well and things like that.
Is that like your dog learning how to sit or something?
That's
your equivalent
how to
of
lie down and stay.
Your dog. You mean Minnie?
Minnie, yeah, did not call her.
Moving on.
The last thing in fact, I've just thought we've not mentioned Riverfest on the River Weaver.
No.
Do you know what went down there?
I don't, to be honest. No, do you?
I think I can remember.
Yeah, I do know Glenn Lawrence and Lee Edwards qualified.
Yeah, so Lee Edwards won the match.
Yeah,
I believe with £34.
With tension, some bream.
Tension, a bream on the pole and then some bream on a feeder.
Yeah.
Tension on the river.
Glenn Lawrence caught some bream. Well, basically it was a bream fest.
Yeah.
I spoke to Dave Brooks during the match and he'd, as Dave always does, I'm really struggling. I think he ended up with sort of 6 bream or something like that, or he'd had some skimmers. But Glenn Lawrence had walked that zone.
Yeah. It was a big fish match when it straight away.
Yeah, definitely. And nothing would have pointed in that direction. It was bright, it was sunny. But bream are fed this weekend everywhere. Everywhere.
They didn't on Sunday.
Not on Sunday, but they did.
Saturday
they did, but not Sunday when you'd think a bit of wind on it, a bit of more of a ripple on most venues. It was a bit more overcast, but for whatever reason, Saturday was the day for him. Lee Edwards, Glenn Lawrence. I do not know the third person, so I will find that in this bit of an interval coming up, and I'll let you know who that third and final qualifier was. And moving on, European Champs, which took place on the Lower River Bann in Ireland.
It looked like it was really hard, didn't it?
It was really hard. So 2 to 3 kilo was enough to win most sections.
I was in France the week before last with Stefan Potelet, who's in the French team, and he was asking me about the venue. I said, it will suit the French perfectly. It'll be rock hard. Because the French are really good when it's rock hard.
Yeah, so the team that travelled out for England, Alan Scawthorne, Will Raisin, Steve Hemingway, James Dent, Cameron Hughes and Matt Derry. That was just Darren's posh coffee machine cleaning itself.
Saying we're all ready for another coffee, isn't
it? That's what it is.
Yeah, it's time for a break, surely.
Darren's just clicked the controller to get it to make us well. They'll come sliding onto the table in a minute. So that was the team. England have struggled.
Yeah.
Whether that was just because it was a hard venue, it could possibly have been Peggy. But they've struggled. They've ended up 8th overall. They've ended up with 50 points on the first day. Did better on the second with 39 points. But Lithuania have won it with 49 points in total. So 25 points on the first day and 24 points on the second day. So they've just had a really consistent 2 days, which is what you need to do. France, second, 55 points. They won it on the first day, I believe, and 34 points on the second day. And Holland, or the Netherlands, 58 points, 34 points on the first day, 24 on the second. Lithuania were 4th on the first day and won it on the second. They've obviously, looking at the fish count...
They've missed the bad bits, haven't they?
They must have missed the bad bits. Looking at their fish count, they've had a lot less fish. So whether they've fished a positive way and caught better fish, looking at it, it looks like that. But you don't do that if you're on bad pegs, really.
Well, if you're on tough pegs where there's not been many fish showing, sometimes you have to go for bust and fish for bigger fish. And you only need...
It's not often that full team that works for, is it?
Well, it wouldn't be, would it? You'd have 2 or 3 anglers on fish, and then potentially 1 or 2 anglers not on fish. If the melons drop in the jackpot machine and you both catch 1 good fish each in 2 bad sections, then you've got a mega result, haven't you?
Especially when 2 to 3 kilos was up. It's a couple of bream, a bream, or a couple of hybrids.
Looked to me like a really, really tough match. And you, a lot of the time, you've got to remember that these guys have been practicing on these venues for a week, and it destroys it. It could be an okay venue, and after 5 days of European bombardment, and they don't hold back.
No.
All on the 13-metre line, all on a waggler line. They're all fishing the same lines. If there's loads of fish in these venues, the fish come to you. But you always know on the Wednesday. The Wednesday is like the real cut-off point. It's D-Day, we call Wednesday, because the first day the fish are scared to death on the Monday because it's like the Battle of the Somme. Everybody throws ground bait everywhere. The second day, fish often respond, and there's fish caught up and down the length because they come onto the feed. Yeah. If they come onto the feed on the third day, that means there's a lot of fish in the venue, and normally it's going to be a decent match. But I heard that there weren't even many fish on the Tuesday on this event, and it's a great venue, but it's a migratory river, and these fish fly up and down that river and they go into the locks, and they had a lot of water 2 weeks ago. If they'd have just been able to hold on to some of that water, I think it would probably have been a good venue. But it's just a shame because I know the Irish have put a lot of work in for that. Yeah,
that's the thing. The Irish Tourist Board in general are absolutely fantastic, aren't they?
Yeah.
They love anglers going over there. This would have been absolutely massive for them, holding the European Championships.
Yeah.
They'll have loved it. So I'm guessing, in terms of what they did for the anglers, would have been brilliant. Some venues, especially like you say, a migratory river, it's a bit of hit and miss whether you're going to land on them because you don't know whether the fish are going to be there or not. It's not necessarily down to anglers, or It's just nature, isn't it?
But the team, a lot of the good teams still do very well. I know in this circumstance, England haven't done very well. But, they've got 3 young anglers in. They're trying to build a squad.
Yeah.
The squad's getting old. Definitely getting old, because they're my age and older. Yeah. So we're all getting old. But you've got to bring those young anglers in. And if you don't, then you're going to have to start from scratch in a few years' time. These guys are brilliant. They're young lads,
That's the thing, and that's what a lot of people sort of say with the England setup. Obviously, there's the World Champ squad where they tend to try and take the squad, and then the European where they'll sort of ease some of the younger anglers through.
Yeah.
Some of those that haven't maybe fished events before or have only been and travelled a couple of times. That's where they'll sort of give them a run out, and I think that's they have half, which are the experienced squad that travel for all the events, and half those younger anglers where they're sort of integrating them in, so that when it's their time in a couple of years, they're going to be ready and hit the ground running. So it does work.
But it'll do them good.
It's experience,
it's a great experience. Whether you do really well or you have a tough time, then it still makes you as an angler. To be the best in the world, you got to take the tough times as well as the easy times, because that is what makes you a winner.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah. So as we said there, France second. It will have suited them. They'll have caught they did catch lots of fish. I believe the most fish out of any of the nations.
Yeah.
Holland third. In terms of individuals, Ramon Osting from...
Anson Ramon. Ramon Ansing, it was, yeah. He's a great angler.
Yeah.
Really good. He comes over to the UK, fishes the Garbina Silver Festival, the Winter Festival at Whiteacres. He's a really good angler, though. He's good at everything.
Yeah, so he's ended up on 3 points, which was the best out of anyone. His total weight, 4 kilos, 186.
Yeah,
that's
not big, is it?
And that was with 1 3 kilo weight in there as well, I believe.
Yeah.
So it's not a massive weight, but he's obviously been tough sections and done really well from tough sections. Yeah. So he's managed to do that. In second place from France is Stefan Linder.
Garbelino's very own Stefan Linder. Yeah.
Garbelino's very own. Yeah,
he's
so
a good
Stefan
guy.
Linder.
Great angler.
Yeah.
Really good,
Yeah, so he had 4 points.
Yeah.
A 1 and a 3, 6 kilos, 742.
Yeah.
And then in third was Tomas Buzas, and I know that name as well. Lithuania, from 3 kilos, 769.
Yeah.
So not massive weights, but they've done the business and all gone home with an individual medal.
Yeah.
And all gone home with a team medal as well. So not bad for those 3.
Fantastic.
Right, so that's the roundup of the matches.
Are you not going to ask me what I did?
Well, we're going to... No, I'm joking. Yeah, we're going to. I believe you've been down to the lovely Tamar Lakes this week.
The beautiful Tamar Lakes. So I've sort of fallen in love with this place and not been there. People told me how good it was. I thought, I must go there. And like 2 years later, I've actually started to go there. But I went for the second time. Third time, actually. I went for a practice for Feeder Masters. Managed to qualify for Feeder Masters, over the moon with that. Went down this week. We're actually sponsoring, it's the Garbino Tamar Feeder Championships that we're sponsoring. So it's perfect. So great excuse for me to go down.
What's the format of that? Is that qualifiers and a final as well?
Yeah, there's 2 qualifiers, and there's top 2 in every section go through to the final in I think it's the end of August. So great. Simon Pointer, the guy who's running it, he runs most of the matches there. Does a great job, and I just had to go down and fish it. So I set off at 5 to 5 on Saturday morning.
Nice.
Put my first ever Matchcast podcast on there. Thoroughly enjoyed it, got to say. Even with Andy May on, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Only joking, Andy. I love you, really. He's a star. He was funny. He's great.
Did he mention about Kamazan Matchman of the Year?
No? Did I miss that bit?
Might have mentioned it once.
I'll play it.
Which is
I'll play
funny,
it again.
because when we got to Darren's house, he got all his Kamazan British Open final.
No, not
medals.
all of them, Jake.
Oh, is
no,
that just
a
a
couple of
selection
us,
of
them?
He
Searching through the medals.
He said, did Andy have any of these? Bad boys.
So anyway, we digress. Went to Tamar, listened to the podcast. It was absolutely brilliant. Really enjoyed it. Got down there, drew, and I drew on the same bank that I drew on the Feeder Masters. Not really any idea of how good it was. The gorse bush is supposed to be a really good peg. I was just past the gorse bush, and everyone said to me, "You'll be all right there, it's good." So I had a bit of a strange match. We didn't have summer down there, by the way. You guys had summer on Saturday, didn't you, up here?
Yeah.
It never once did I see the sun on Saturday.
I should have gone there.
Yeah, you should have gone there. You'd have loved it.
Left leg threatening.
We had this lovely sea fret that came over all day. But it was perfect for fishing, to be honest. Good. So, steady feeder match. It's all skimmers, fast fishing, lots of casting all the time, trying to draw some fish into the peg. And slowly but surely, after an hour and 20 minutes, I've only got 6 fish. I ended up with 52 fish for 21.11, which was a nice day's fishing. Won the section. I was second on that bank. But I had a bit of a nightmare. I lost a lot of fish. Actually getting snapped off the slate beds on this reservoir, and they go out a long way. I was fishing up to like 30 metres and still getting snagged up on these slate beds. But I learned lots about the place. It just intrigues me. There's so many fish there. It's brilliant. There were roach topping round my platform. I'm fishing, further out, and I think I could have probably fished at 8 metres or 6 metres. He caught 21 pound of roach about 80 metres to my left, basically just on his rod end. It's a great venue, and it's so varied, but loved it. It's a long way, but God, I love the place.
They're the sort of places though, once you set up, you just kind of, before the match, you just sat there thinking,
stand back.
It's just a nice place to be. It's not like going to some of these commercials where you're on top of other anglers.
Yeah.
You kind of, it looks a bit like an industrial estate on some of them, but they're just like, it's a nice, Porth is the same, isn't it? Once you've gone through all the aggro of setting up, it's like,
I call it, it's like going to Ireland for the day when I go to Tamar, and it's fantastic. It's why I started fishing. It really is. It's a beautiful place. So I had a great day. Qualified, long journey home, but got my gear ready for the next day because we've got the Feeder Masters teams of 4. I'm fishing with the mainline DGEG guys. That's Dean Barlow, Simon Fry, Gaz Lambert and myself. And we're lying second at the moment in the league, so we've got to put some work in. The other lads have been down once in a match, so I had to try and pinch a ticket off Gaz Lambert, who got me a ticket for the PDA qualifier for the final in September. So got there, and there was everything going on. There was a pink run, there was a band on, there was aeroplanes flying over. It was one of those days where you just didn't know what was going to go on. And I drew.
Any swans about in your bag?
The swans weren't there, but we had swans later on, Jake. There were swans.
Pedal swans.
Pedalo swans, canoes.
Nice. Yeah. So
windsurfers.
the windsurfers are
yachts.
good and all.
But
do you catch any windsurfers?
No, they didn't. They were quite good. They didn't come close enough.
Because just to put it into perspective for people, Ferry Meadows is shallow, isn't it?
Yeah.
4 foot, is it?
No, it's a lot deeper than that. Up to 12 foot deep.
Oh, okay. So you're getting these pedal swans and windsurfers over the top of where you're fishing, basically, a lot of the time, aren't you?
And you're talking about trying to hold on to or drawing shoals of bream that are not huge shoals on the day. You get maybe 12, 15 bream in your peg for a few minutes. You catch one if you're really lucky, 2 or 3, and then they back off. So I drew peg 91 anyway. Not a particularly good area, but the wind was howling down right to left into our bank. It just screamed of fish, to be honest. So in a very positive attitude, I thought, we're going to catch some fish. I'm going to catch some bream. We started fishing usual Ferry Meadows, sort of 50 metres and 60 metres. Dave Marty to my left, fed at 42 metres. I thought, he's going a bit short there. Does he know something that I don't? He obviously did, because he won the match.
Oh, no.
So he caught 6 breams, £28. He caught 4 after two and a bit hours, and I had not had a bite at all. So, still determined. I was going to catch a bream. I just wanted to catch a bream. Just one bream would have done. I ended up catching 3 and a few bits. Did a few things. Can't really say what I did because the team will give me a right rollicking because it comes out on Friday. This podcast, isn't it? Yeah. So I ended up with £11 and 8 ounces, 3 small bream for Ferry, really small bream, and a few bits, which was actually enough for 5th in the match.
Right.
The lad to Dave Martin's left, there was a spare peg between them, and I think the fish were actually sat in this spare peg. The guy to Dave's left was actually second match with £20. And like I say, I was 5th in the match and qualified for the final. So I qualified for the final on Saturday at Tamar and qualified for the PDA final at Ferry Meadows on Sunday.
Great weekend.
But, we were talking about the bream not feeding. I had several conversations with Michael Buckwalder and Gaz Lambert, who were both at Staunton Harold yesterday.
Yep.
And they were talking about just not catching. Nobody was catching. Apparently there was only 8 bream caught at Staunton Harold. That place has got more bream than water.
I think I've seen the results, and I think, was Michael the only one to actually weigh in his section or something? I think
£2.
Everyone else just didn't.
And he drew bang on, a great area, but just fish didn't feed. But what is interesting is, we've found over recent years there's a pattern formed. When your braid floats, you don't catch many fish. You don't catch many bream, certainly.
Okay.
And it's all to do with pressure, air pressure, which affects water pressure. So you can get a really good sinking. What is your normal sinking braid?
And it floats.
And it floats. And you look down at your keep net, and often you fish up your keep net.
Yeah.
And one other thing that is a real good telltale sign is, when you're catching a lot of bream and skimmers, you get slime off your landing net when you put them into the landing net. All the slime floats as well. There's definitely something about pressure, about floating braid, and I was getting liners from ducks at 30 metres on my braid. My braid sticks lovely. I went to see Steve Ringer, who was like 5 pegs down after the match, and I told him. He said, "Yeah, I was in exactly the same was happening." So there's some correlation between this high pressure,
I think,
and braid floating. There's definitely something. You were saying, Rich, about big fish not feeding at Kerborough.
And I think going back to kind of like specimen carping as well, they read a lot more into it.
They do.
Low pressure for big carp is always your ideal conditions.
Yeah.
Anything below 1,000 millibars is it
Yeah,
for pressure?
That's
that's always like, get on the bank, get fishing. And there's also obviously moon phases as well, which a lot of them are reading into, and it's how true it is or not. They've always said on a new moon it's always good for big commons. And it seems to correlate enough that it's worth looking into, and it probably wouldn't surprise me, stuff like that. If you looked at the actual moon phases as well, bream being quite similar to carp in how they feed and everything, I bet there'd be a bit of a new moon and stuff like that.
I'm totally into it. I totally believe in air pressure, water temperature, and moon phases. Absolutely. I'm not a scientist, don't understand how it works, but there is definitely a correlation between low pressure and catching fish. And low pressure normally means cloud cover, normally means not as much sun, and fish definitely feed in lower pressure situations.
Yeah, I think it's obviously if you're specimen fishing, you're kind of choosing when and you're going or you're not going. But I think from a match point of view, it's probably just knowing how you're going to start your peg, how positive you're going to be at the start.
Absolutely.
If you've got that bit, you're not messing up your swim, you're not filling it in when you don't want to be, and doing things that are going to cost you in the long run.
I think also it's a lot more relevant at certain times of year. For example, in spring, where the fish are starting to feed, but you've got to be careful. So there's some days where you can actually feed quite a bit of bait. Other days where if you feed too much bait, you destroy your peg. And it's that high pressure, changing water temperature. I take the water temperature every time I go fishing, and it's amazing how much it varies.
Yeah.
You know, every time of year.
Yeah, and it's funny because these are exactly the sort of things you talk about in your diary in Pole Fishing Magazine.
Exactly, yeah.
Every
all the
single
time.
issue.
I'm really sold on it. Honestly, I'm too long in the tooth. I've seen too many times it start raining for a week and everyone going, oh, this weather's terrible, and everywhere fishes its head off.
Yeah, and you're like, brilliant.
Yeah, yeah. But I always say, when the wind's blowing a hooligan, when it's raining, and it's really difficult to fish.
Yeah.
It's that type of fishing sorts the men out from the boys, because a lot of people give in.
Yeah.
They just say, "Oh, I can't cope with that. I can't on my pole. I can't do this." This is. I love it when it's like that, because I like to dig my heels in and fight. It's great.
Yeah.
And you just know the fish are going to feed.
Definitely.
So anyway, good weekend for me.
Brilliant weekend.
I wish they were all like that.
Yeah. Perfect.
Nice way to finish that little section, I
Definitely.
think.
So we'll move on to Darren's life in fishing. I think we'll close them patio doors because there's a bit of, I don't know whether the banging will be too loud on
We'll find out.
We'll find out. And I'll get you that third qualifier from Riverfest.
Sound.